In July this year, we visited Borås Miniature Steam Train Society at their Open to Visitors Day. We are invited every year and we usually have a really good time. The area is big and so are the trains, big enough to take passengers for a ride. Our tanks were an appreciated feature during the event, and there were a lot of visitors since the weather was perfect. No rain, but not quite nice enough for people to go to the beach. Christopher's Tiger 1 from Armortech was as impressive as ever, and it handled the short and dry grass on the hill without problems. As usual, a large collection of models were present. The 3D printed models are becoming more and more numerous, like Martin's Jagdpanther in 1:10 scale, as well as his excellent Bergepanther built by another member of Minipansar. This time there was also a 3D printed Renault FT17 in 1:6 scale that Hans had brought, although it's far from finished. I had brought my 1:4 scale Renault AMR-35 to test it in different terrain. The drivetrain is holding up well and everything went great up to a certain point. More on that in the end of the video, so stick around for an update of the AMR. Here we see Sten talking to two visitors, a very nice young man called Erik and his mother. Erik was a fan of the channel and had a couple of models of his own. I am very glad I got the chance to meet you both. Sten also displayed his S-Tank in 1:5 scale, a real happening since it's a true masterpiece. It has a functional gas turbine engine and hydraulic suspension. When this model fires up, no one can miss it. The 103 usually gathers quite a crowd, and today was no exception. Martin and I decided to take a tour around the site with two tanks that weren't in 1:6 scale for a change. The 1:10 scale Bergepanther fully 3D printed and my AMR-35 in 1:4 scale. We also brought our new favorite toys, the FMS 1:24 scale Unimog and Land Rover. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to drive my Landy, but Lynn and Madeleine managed to sneak away and have a bit of fun with their little trucks. When closing time drew nearer, my inner gardener suddenly woke up and realized that ferns are great plants, but they spread like weeds and suffocate smaller flowers. Determined to make an effort for the environment, I let the Renault go wild in the bushes. A great ending to a great day. And now for some update of the AMR. Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that little video from the miniature locomotive event. It's now August in 2025 and it's been a while since I worked steadily with the 1:4 scale AMR. The reason is of course that we have a little boy now and he takes a lot of our time. However, there has been some progress at least. Like you saw on the video, the AMR-35 has been with me on several meets to test the durability and drivetrain. Overall, it has worked very well, but I have noticed a few things. Like for instance, during the hobby exhibition in Gothenburg, I noticed that one of the tracks wanted to climb off the idler wheel. It turned out that it was one of the road wheel arms that wasn't aligned with the body. So that's fixed. I have also noticed some problems with the tracks. Now, these tracks are printed in ASA, which is a UV-resistant type of ABS. And contrary to PLA Plus, which I normally use, I do experience some problems with layer adhesive on the ASA track links. As you can see, the layers are kind of peeling off when you drive on rougher surfaces like gravel. This is something I haven't noticed at all on my PLA tracks. And the reason for choosing ASA on this tank is that ASA is heat resistant in a much better way than PLA Plus is. But it seems to be something with the layer adhesive that isn't quite correct. Now, I want to point out that my solid PLA Plus tracks have not shown any sign of warping in the sun. They are too sturdy for that. The PLA tracks has worked excellent on my 1:6 scale Stridsvagn 105, and that thing weighs 50 kilos or 110 pounds. But I wanted to try ASA as a possible replacement anyway. The prints are beautiful, but the durability doesn't seem to be as good as on PLA Plus. Perhaps it's just me and the settings on my printer, but I haven't really experienced this before. When I drove around the AMR on the miniature steam train event that you saw earlier, one of the tracks suddenly snapped. That is also something that isn't very common on my models with the PLA Plus tracks. So what happened was the track didn't break in half, but rather the track pin pulled itself out of the track link, taking the layers with it. And you can see here on the pictures, the layers are actually gone. The track link is still in one piece, but the layers affected by the pull of the sprint has not been able to withstand the forces. So with all this combined, I have actually printed a full set of tracks in PLA Plus. These guys are just waiting to be put together and installed on the AMR. So hopefully my trusty PLA Plus will do its job on this model as well. However, the tracks on the AMR are very narrow, even in 1:4 scale, and even though I have beefed them up as much as I can. But hopefully it will work fine, because it's a very fun model to drive. Other than that, the drivetrain seems to be working fine, the tank is turning just as it should, and it's a joy to drive. The suspension is a bit on the stiff side, but I will let that be for now. I can always change the springs inside the suspension unit to a softer one if I need to. So the next step for this model is to get the turret to rotate. Then it's time for all the details, the hatches and the vents and the mud guards. And after that, it's time for paint. Alright, so thank you so much for staying with me the entire video. And I'm sorry the content isn't as regular as it used to be, if it ever was. But there are a lot more coming, I can promise you that. If you want to see more regular updates, check out my Instagram account. And don't forget to come and say hi in Denmark the first weekend in September at Military Days at Panzer Museum East. I will be there together with Mini Panzer and the Danish equivalent. And we will drive a lot of model tanks and watch the show. That is going to be a blast. It's always a fun event. So see you there, hopefully. Take care, and I see you next time.